You guys, sound the alarm, okay? Hoist those red flags, because today we're talking all about makeup red flags. I actually did this video a little over a year ago, and I thought it would be fun to revisit, update you guys on what I think are makeup product red flags out there. I will leave the original video down below. I will say I feel like I try a lot more products now for review and things like that, so my shopping is a little bit different than just personal, but these are things I like to keep in mind, especially when I may be talking myself out of a product or really getting down to the nitty gritty. These are the red flags that kind of pop up, you know what I'm saying, where I'm like, is that actually gonna work for me, you know? So we're gonna get into it, but before we do, should we address the barrettes? I don't know. I mean, if you weren't thinking about them until now, I'm so sorry for bringing your attention to them. It's really not a big deal. I don't know why wearing barrettes feels like a moment for me, but it does. It really does. So I can't tell if I love it or hate it. So I wore it in the video, and yeah, we're rocking them today, and they are literally hanging on by a thread, okay? By a little thread. And by thread, I mean 4 of my hairs, because that's how many hairs I have. I only have 4. It's rough over here. Anyway, okay. Moving on past that, let's get into it. All right, you guys, my first makeup product red flag, these little puff guys, okay? If I see another puff come out from one of your brands, if I see it, I'm gonna go berserk. I'm gonna literally go berserk, you know? I will say, I get it. The Charlotte Tilbury ones, I have a few. I think they're nice. They're cute. They're easy to apply. The ones from Charlotte Tilbury, the ones that are the moment, the ones that everyone wishes they could replicate, I get the hype for them overall. Are they expensive for what they are? Sure, but that's Charlotte Tilbury. That's the prices that she charges for her makeup. And overall, I feel like the formula is nice, especially in the highlighters and the blush ones. I think they're good. I think this was an innovative kind of fun thing. Not that we had never seen it before, you know, but I like it. I could get down with it. If this were the one, I'd be fine with it. But then came the dupes. And don't get me wrong, like I get dupes making a similar product at a more affordable price point. Makes sense to me. Not everyone wants to spend, what, like $40 on this? So here comes e.l.f. Okay, there's Catrice, like tons of brands, tons of more inexpensive drugstore brands have come out with their puffs. And like, that's fun. Everyone gets excited for it. Okay. But Tarte, what are you doing? What is the point of a Tarte one? That's a dupe at the same price point. I don't understand it. I don't understand. Red flag, red flag. When I saw that, I was kind of like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. And the one that really rocked my world, okay? The one that really had me like, no, not you. Not you, was Laura Mercier. Laura Mercier came out with these highlighter puff things, and I'm like, no, Laura Mercier, you are a tried and true brand. You don't need this. You don't need this. You have the eyeshadow sticks. You have all this other stuff. Like, I'm looking on Sephora right now on the app, at least. They're not even there. So they weren't even around a super long time. Like, what was that? What is going on? And I will say, as like a reviewer, as someone who's like in this makeup world, an initial excitement that comes from seeing a puff, because it's like, ooh, is it going to be like the Charlotte Tilbury? Like, everyone wants to know, is it like the Charlotte Tilbury? But like, I've just come to the point, and the red flag for me is just like, I don't care. When we're dealing with similar price points, what am I doing here? What's going on? I just am like, no, I'm over that. Like, I just personally am over it, okay? It's a red flag for me. We've done the comparisons. The dupes are out there. Like, I think we're moving on, but I really hope so, at least. Like, I really do. And to be honest, that kind of goes for a few different Charlotte Tilbury dupes that we're seeing out there, along with the Hollywood Flawless filter. It's been done. It's been done. Red flag. Like, it's too much. It's too much for me. I'm over I'm over it. Like, we've reached the threshold. There's enough out there. I really don't want to see it. Just give me a baked highlighter. Give me a pressed highlighter, please. I'm begging. I'm begging for that. Okay. We can leave the puffs behind. Next on my list as a red flag are lip plumpers. Now hear me out, okay? I mentioned lip plumpers in the same way that I put pH changing products on the last video. So, I mean, those still go here. I feel like overall pH changing lip products, face products, like, you're gonna turn a shade of hot pink. Like, where you fall on the hot pink, who knows? But it's gonna be hot pink, and it's probably gonna stain, and that's what you're gonna get. Can that be beautiful? For sure. I've really loved the Merit ones that have the pH. They're like a lip oil. Those are so good. I have one of them, Jeté, and that's all you need, because it turns out the same color. If all the colors in the line have that same pH changing thing, they basically turn the same color on you. Like, that's that's how it works, right? Like, so there was no fighting the pH. Like, it's come back full force, which, again, I can get down with some of it, but you just don't need all of it. You don't need every color in a line that comes out. I just feel like it's the same thing. And why I feel like lip plumpers are in a similar vein to me is because they do a similar thing in turning your lips a very like bright, kind of irritated red or pink juicy color. Like, at least on me, that's what happens whenever I use any lip plumper, no matter what the mechanism is to plump my lips, no matter how spicy or slightly spicy it is, my lips are inevitably going to kind of change color naturally. Like, my natural lip color is going to change. And so if I'm like doing my makeup, I like put up a red flag of like, do I want this for my lip? Like, yeah, it's gonna make my lips plump, but it's also gonna give me a specific lip plump look. Do I want that? Do I want another color? And same with buying plumping lip products. Like, again, they're always gonna kind of give you that look. I like them, don't get me wrong. I am down for that look a lot of the time, but I almost feel like it gives my lips a little bit of like an unfinished look to them. Like, there's something, I don't want to say grungy, but like lived in and a little bit more natural, especially with my natural lip kind of coming through and it like activating and plumping and like the juices are flowing, everything's going on. And I feel like that undone lip look doesn't always look good with whatever else I'm doing, depending. So a little bit of a red flag for me. I'm just always aware of what I want the finished look to look like, or when I'm buying a lip product, being aware that when it has that lip plumping agent or ingredient or property to a lip product, that's what I'm gonna get, you know, and to not expect whatever color is honestly in the tube, especially if it's a pretty sheer gloss. Like, you're not gonna get your natural lips with a sheer gloss on it. You're probably gonna get something a little more actually flush and a little more actually irritated looking, simply because of the product itself. So that's a bit of a red flag for me. Not, again, that I'm like steering clear, but I'm just being very aware of it. While we're on lip products, can we just talk about all the gritty lip products that are coming out now that glosses are back? I don't know if people aren't trying these lip products on, but I have tried multiple lip products in the last year that are gritty to my lips. I can feel the shimmer. I can feel the glitter on my lips, and it's so uncomfortable. I don't understand it. Like, I love the look of a shimmery lip gloss, do not get me wrong, but I do not want the texture. I definitely don't want that when I'm spending $20+ on a lip product. Like, I feel like we can figure out how to get that formula right. Like, the formula is not done. We cannot stop it at the lab here. We cannot stop it. I don't know if I'm just extra sensitive on my lips or what, but I hate that. I've tried a Fenty lip gloss recently. I tried the Stila lip oil, specifically in the shade Supernova, that had glitter in it. The Half Magic lip glosses that came out looked so beautiful, and online they look so good. They really do, and the filters and in the light and all of that, don't get me wrong, but the experience of wearing them on my lips, I feel like isn't worth it, especially when I have products that do the shimmer and sell that fantasy without being gritty in my lips. Like, I don't want to feel like I either have like crumbs in my lip gloss or like little shards of particles. Like, I hate that. So total red flag, and that's one you can't really tell until you get it. Like, it's unfortunate, and I was just shocked by how many products I was trying last year that had that. I'm like, is it just me? Like, what's going on here? Is anyone trying these out? Okay, speaking of, you know, videos and shorts, I'm not gonna be a shorts hater, okay, or like reels or TikToks or whatever you wanna call it, short form content. I don't hate short form content. I feel like there's a time and a place for short form and for those video ideas, and I think it can be fun. It's just like a different thing than a long sit down video. That being said, I will say any kind of review I'm seeing, and this doesn't matter who it's from, even someone I trust, even someone like me, it's a little bit of a red flag. I'm not gonna lie, because I feel like shorts and shorter content is there. You have to get people's attention. You have to be exciting or something. Like, something has to be exciting. You have a minute to hook someone, and even that is like a lie, because you're not watching a boring instructional short to the minute mark to see if it's good. You're giving it 5 seconds and swiping. Like, that's how it works. And so I understand the need for excitement and entertainment, and so I really look at shorts as more of an entertainment thing, and so I don't really take into consideration a review as like the full thing. It's not the full thing, okay? It's fun, it's exciting, it's showing you maybe a color. There are things you can get from it. It can be fun to watch, like it can be pretty to watch, all of that. I love a little aesthetic short, don't get me wrong, okay? I love making those, but it is truly not the full story, and it is truly not a full review or to completely potentially base either a purchase off of, unless you're fine with potentially potentially being disappointed, but I just don't put everything into a short. You know what I'm saying? A little red flags there, a little bit of voice of reason to be like, you know, maybe you should look into another video on this or go swatch it in store, or like it's really not the full picture. And I think especially too when it comes to like foundation and base stuff, like filters are such a big part of shorts. And I'm not even over on TikTok, but I've seen the videos. I mean, I get them filtered down for me. They come from TikTok to Instagram to YouTube and they finally get to me, okay? And whether someone's using a filter on purpose, like a beauty filter or whatever, I feel like it's so much easier to use and do on the phone camera than it is on like a traditional like DSLR type camera. So it's just more prevalent in short form content because that's usually the device being used to film them. And I'm not for filters, especially when you're doing a review of like foundation or your makeup in a way where the filter is changing the way it looks and making it look better. But I will say, you know, being online, I understand why people want to use them. Like I'm not like here to like shame anyone in a lot of ways either, because like it's rough out there. Comments are rough. Your own perception of yourself can be really tough depending on what you struggle with. And I feel like unfortunately in our society with aging, why is aging a bad thing? It's like a good thing that we're alive still, but it can be tough. So I understand wanting to use them, but I just feel like red flag for anything that's a short because it potentially could have that filter on it. And so if it's a foundation, like it might look great, but like everyone has texture, okay? Everyone has a little something going on. Makeup usually looks like makeup, especially if you're applying enough on camera for it to really be seen, then it's going to look like makeup, especially in person. But also, even if someone's not using a filter on their shorts, the quality of shorts is just not there. Like at least on YouTube with shorts, the quality is so downgraded. And so I feel like it can even look almost like a filter just because it's like not as high quality. And so I just take anything on shorts as like, this is entertainment. This is like a tiny step of maybe some research into a product, maybe some thoughts on a product, but it's really not going to be the main thing that's going to get me to purchase it from just a short without me having already the kind of like, oh, it might work, it might not. I think with just all those things combined, I think it's best as like entertainment and something fun. And like, again, that first step of looking into something and maybe like a quick swatch, but not necessarily like the full picture. And so it's a little bit, it will always be a little bit of a red flag. Like I always want to have that little red flag. I always want to have that little, you know, voice in the back of my head, because what you see online is not the full picture and isn't always the full truth, whether it's trying to be deceptive or not. All right, moving on from that, I will get off my little soapbox. I will stop all that. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, let's talk about this. Let me actually grab the products, because this one, as much as I'm talking generally, it's for one specific product. There is one thing that made me put this on my list. Christian Louboutin. Okay, now if you saw my video unboxing the advent calendar from Christian Louboutin, then you probably already are like on my wavelength. You're already like, go girl, go. But specifically for this makeup red flag, anything that is like the on-the-go version of a luxury brand's makeup line, or really anything, a diffusion line of a bigger, more expensive brand, red flag, baby, red flag. We already know with the expensive luxury designer item, like let's say this lipstick here, it's expensive. This is $100, I think. And then the little charms, each little charm here is a $20 piece, okay? Granted, together, it's a vibe, it's a look, and it does have weight to it, all of that. But we all know this is expensive to be expensive. It's because it's name brand, it's because it's designer. By nature, it's not going to be cheap because you're paying for that exclusivity. That's how it goes, right? So it is what it is. Then there's the on-the-go line from Christian Louboutin. This is one of the lipsticks. When I tell you this is the cheapest thing I've ever felt in my life in terms of packaging, this is so cheap. I compared this to a Wet n Wild. Like, this is the weight of a Wet n Wild lipstick. Sure, it has like a cute cap, but it's just plastic. I mean, there's no heft to it. This does not feel luxurious at all. And I feel like the reason you would maybe go with like an on-the-go thing, sure, maybe you're like, I want it lighter so it's lighter in my purse. Like, I guess that works, but how many other lipsticks out there are lighter for your purse than this? Like, tons. I just feel like this is such a ripoff in a more egregious way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just wouldn't suggest going for the on-the-go lipsticks, I would say if you want to go for it, go full experience, go for it, spend the money, be okay with it. I know it's expensive, but I just think this is the better thing than the on the go. I really feel like it's such a red flag. I just can't express to you, this is a $50 lipstick, and I am telling you right now, there are better lipsticks at Sephora for that price point or cheaper that feel better than this. Like, they could have done something more, but they didn't, right? They didn't. And we're not even gonna get into the calendar itself. Like, the calendar itself gave me this, just one singular lipstick that's a refill, so I could pop it in, but they didn't even give me the extra case. Like, I'm not gonna get into all of it. If you wanna go check out the video, definitely go check it out, but just a diffusion line, an on-the-go line, they're using the name of the luxury product, the designer item, to create a line that can be less quality and kind of cut those corners to get it at a cheaper price point, but they're still not gonna make it like cheap. They're not gonna make it the price that I feel like it actually is more worth. Like, they're not going to make this $20 because they don't want anything that they sell to be $20. So I would personally stick away from on-the-go stuff and go more for those better items. But yeah, in the future, if I see that, I'm just like, red flag. Like, I just think going for something that's an alternative, something totally different, or just going for that initial product or like the higher end, you have at least the option of a better experience. Again, whether it's worth it or not is a whole other discussion, but I do feel like at least the experience should hopefully be there in the other product, whereas I feel like that diffusion line, that on-the-go line, is like telling you in your face, like, we're charging you just for the name, but nothing else is here for it. Like, this is the same kind of quality and everything else you could get with maybe a look, but it's not going to even have remotely the feel or anything tangible that I feel like it should have for being designer, even if it is on the go. Okay, moving past that, I am obviously a scorned woman about it. Okay, this is another kind of red flag that stemmed from opening all the advent calendars, which I love doing. It was so much fun to do and just see what's in there. But I will say a red flag for me is when I see brands that are so expensive, like extremely expensive, but I'm like sitting here like, but are you actually that expensive? One of the brands that comes to mind is Skin 111. They were in a ton of the different luxury advent calendars that I opened, and they are very expensive. Like, you go to the site, the retail is there, okay? Expensive products, but at the same time, they're in the advent calendars, which can be just like marketing, getting their name out there. They're luxury advent calendars. They still are expensive, but I've also seen them in BoxyCharm. I've also seen them on Ipsy. Like, I've gotten these brands in a $35 a month BoxyCharm. Like, what's going on with that? And that's kind of similar to Biro. I really actually love the eye cream from them. It's like this truffle serum eye cream. You get a ton of products. It's like an ounce of product in an eye cream. That is like unheard of. That is so much product for an eye cream, but it's like $100 and something. Like, it is a very expensive eye cream, and they sent me stuff, so I am grateful. But I also have gotten that eye cream again in BoxyCharm. Like, I've paid $12 in a BoxyCharm sale for it. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a savvy shopper, so maybe I just got a really good deal on it, but I've seen it around. And when I see these really high priced, expensive brands at such an opposite price point in BoxyCharm and things like that, like, again, maybe it's just marketing. Maybe I just don't quite understand the back end of it. Like, that could totally be part of it. I leave it open for that, but I just feel like it is a red flag to me that some people are paying $100 and something, but then other people are paying $15, $25 max for it. Like, I don't understand what's going on there with pricing, and it makes me wonder about like what's going on there. You know what I'm saying? Red flag. It's just like, something goes up. I get a little, There is a little bit of a side eye, I can't lie. I do want to talk a little bit about eyeshadows. I put in here, for me, a red flag. This is just a personal one, something for me to be on the lookout for when I'm shopping. Are the mattes the colorful thing in the palette? Because if it is, that can be beautiful, like color-wise, aesthetic-wise, when I'm looking at a palette, so pretty. But when I think of the reality of what I'm using, I tend to use more colorful shadows when they're shimmers, light toppers, really sparkly shades. They have like a little bit of a translucency to them. I tend to go for those more colorful shades over matte colorful shades. And this really clicked for me because I bought a palette from Cosmic Brushes. Stunning palette, so pretty. But when I got down to it, when I was really, had it in front of me using it, I'm like, damn, all the mattes in here are like colorful, like colorful. And although I think colorful eyeshadows can still be pretty, I don't wear them as much as I used to. It's just more, I have like a specific look I may be going for. I enjoy having some different things at my disposal, don't get me wrong. But when I buy buy a new thing, I want to like use it right away, and I just realized, damn, there's just a lot of color in here that's not even like a shimmer. That's definitely something I'm trying to look out for more when I'm looking at a colorful palette, or just a palette that has some pops of color. I'm like, what are the textures and finishes of those colors? Along with this, actually talking about textures of shadows, I really don't enjoy a thick eyeshadow anymore, and this is more of like a shimmer shadow or like a foil or a metallic. I really love baked products. That's what I've fallen in love with. I just feel like they're so flattering, they're so easy to use. You can have them be more sparkly, a more satin finish, even like a nice demi matte kind of look with a baked shadow. I just think they apply so nicely and they're kind of foolproof. But the issue that I have with these thicker shadows, like where you put your finger in them and you put them on your eye and they actually like apply a thick layer of product, I just don't find that they personally look that great on my lids. And you know, do you? I'm not saying anyone shouldn't wear that, but I just find I don't love the look of it. I like something with that thinner texture. I just think it's a little more flattering for what I'm going for. And that's just something like as I'm aging, I'm just noticing products play a little differently on my skin, and sometimes it's fine and I don't mind it, and then other times I'm kind of like, oh, I kind of get it. As much as the luxury eyeshadow quads used to not be for me, I kind of understand them now. I'm like, oh, that texture looks so nice. And I feel like that texture, the baked texture, or even just like a thinner formula or just a softer formula that can kind of be blended and manipulated a little bit more, tends to be a little more universally flattering than those thicker metallics, which I used to love. I wanted it to look like molten like metal on my eyelid, but now it looks a little more textured in a way that I don't even feel like is there. Like it just doesn't quite flatter me. So I look out for that. I'm like, if it's gonna be a really thick eyeshadow, and sometimes you can thin those eyeshadows out if you really get in there, but if I can't, it's just really not the formula for me, at least at this time. Maybe I'll go back to it, maybe there'll be a time, taste change, but right now I'm realizing that is a red flag for me. All right, next red flag are deceiving product sizes. So we're getting into that makeup math. I used to do a series like that where you really get into the ounces of product, what you're getting, cost per gram, cost per ounce, all of that. And this more recently came back up for me because I got the Jones Road bronzer. They sent this to me and I really loved it. I loved it so much. I was using it, and look at that. I hit pan. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a pan girl again. What's going on? I was so excited, okay? And it wasn't really adding up. Like, as much as I love this and I was using this, I was like, I can see the rings. Like, what is going on? I really like went through this. I like whipped through it. Come to find out and like just look at the back of it. It has 5.7 grams of product or 0.2 ounces of product in here. Whereas with the NARS bronzer, this is $40. So granted, it's $5 more, but there's 11 grams of product or 0.038 ounces in here. So it's like double the product for $5 more. And I wouldn't think, like if these were just in a store next to each other, I wouldn't think that they look different. Like this is made to look like it's a similar amount of product when it isn't. You know what I'm saying? And I find it kind of interesting specifically with Jones Road because the Miracle Balm that they have is massive. It's so much product, but then I feel like everything else that you would maybe go through a little bit more, I feel like has such tiny product, and I just feel like I don't always catch it, but it's like a little bit of like a what the heck, you know, a little shrinkflation going on. Like there's all these little ways where it like looks like a product that has way more product in it, but it actually doesn't, and it's just kind of made to look like that. And I will say it kind of goes the other way. There are some products that look really tiny but have a similar amount of product as like other things on the market, but you wouldn't think it next to each other. So just in general, kind of looking at some of the grams, especially if I'm feeling like, man, this looks small, or if I feel like I'm using it up really fast, and doing that math like can be important and really add up, especially if they're your daily items, like they're the items you're using every day. You can run through them if you're not using a bunch of other stuff. Just a bit of a red flag since I've had that experience with that bronzer. Okay, just a few more things. I wanted to bring up 24-hour wear. When I see that on a product, it is a red flag for me, and I know for other people that's going to be something that you're excited about. I get wanting your makeup to look good for a long time, but I just find like it's hard. It's hard even on set, or people with the most beautiful makeup, they've gotten their makeup done by a makeup artist. When I was on set, it's like I'm touching up their makeup so much. It is not 24-hour proof. It is like anything they do, I'm like, okay, let me powder you, let me add some lip. Like it is a constant process to touch up, your face moves, your eyelids move, your mouth moves, you're doing things, you're touching your face, your glands are producing oil, like a lot of stuff is happening. And so I just don't know if like makeup is meant to like be on your face for 24 hours. And it's just not a claim in general that I'm looking for, but I also tend to worry that products that are gonna stay on for 24 hours are gonna really lock down. And initially that might look so good, but I just feel like there's a breaking point. There becomes a moment, at least for my oily skin, where it looks good, everything looks good, but the moment something happens, maybe I, you know, scratch, I have a little itch or something, then it's like a bare patch, a naked patch on my face. Everything else around it is stuck on like glue. That becomes an issue. Like you have to touch that up in a specific way. Whereas if it was a product that maybe had a little bit more movability, it wasn't, you know, locked into place, I could kind of tap it out or like more easily fix that. And I feel like that to me is more what I'm looking for when something is long wearing. I'm more than wanting it to like lock down and be around for 24 hours. I want it to be able to look good for as long as possible, if that makes sense. And I just don't feel like a 24-hour wear sticker necessarily translates into looking good long term. You know what I mean? So I don't know, for me personally, that's something I mentioned in my other video about lip liners in a similar way. And I think it just goes for all makeup. Like I don't expect my eyeshadow to be on forever. Like I just don't. And I don't know, don't get me wrong. It's nice when you find those products that really do last and work well with your skin and look great hours and hours and hours and hours into the day. But I just kind of expect a little bit of moving. And I find the products that maybe don't have those really, really long claims tend to be easier to like finesse back into place. And I like that, especially too if you're like touching up, like you did your makeup for the day and you're going back out later in the evening or whatnot. It can be easier to even touch up that face when those products weren't like, again, locked in locked in place. All right, I think the last makeup red flag, here we go. This is more touching on the fantasy. It's something that I just kind of like keep in the back of my head, and that is, or are, I don't know, products that are meant for a specific like time or a specific place. Now, for example, leading up to summer and during summer, without fail, inevitably, brands are going to come out with these glowy oils, glowy body lotions, all that stuff. They are serving the fantasy. People are hot and they're on the yachts and they're looking so good in all the promo photos. And like, you kind of get caught up in it. You're like, yeah, damn, it is summer. I want to look good. I always bring up, like, I want to be on the boat. I want to be out there yachting with everyone. But are you? But are you? I'm not usually out there yachting with them. I'm just not me, at least. I'm not doing that. So like remembering what my actual like usage of beauty products is, like what are the routines that I actually stick to? What are the things I'm actually using? Just is something for me to keep in mind. It's like a red flag when I start getting in the fantasy of like, oh, this will be perfect for that one time when you go on a date night and you're also gonna be riding a horse and this and like like that's too specific of a time, like no. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it is fun to like change up what maybe is normal for you. Like a couple years ago, I was not a nail girl and now here I am with some press-ons and I was getting my nails done and like I love it. It's like a change that has happened. So sometimes you can change. Sometimes maybe you do become like, no, I am at the beach every day in the summer. I don't know, maybe that will happen, but wiping away the fantasy a little bit and like getting down to like, what is it that you like about this? Is it the actual product? Is it something you're genuinely wanting to try, or is it because obviously we want to all go on vacation and have fun? Like that's not what's going to happen when you buy that product. So just trying to keep that in mind for myself. I don't always win. Sometimes the fantasy wins, but I definitely think of that as like a little bit of red flag, especially those glowy body oils. Okay, like those things get me. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your makeup red flags down below. Are there any things that come to mind? I mean, I use it pretty loosely, but these are the things I kind of take a second look at or just kind of look at a little more skeptically. Not always in a negative way, but definitely in a way that I hope to know my makeup preferences before finding out because something didn't work for me or I'm not using it. But anyway, I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.